Hey, how's it going? Welcome to Jack's Continuum. My name is Jack, and today I had an interesting little experience. I was reading an article about how a couple of days ago, Republican candidate Ben Carson had come out and called out Obama as being "quote unquote" raised white. And I guess what he meant by that in context was that he had not the shared African American experience of having to struggle through hard neighborhoods and hard finances and stuff like that in order to become a successful politician. Whereas Ben Carson, in his opinion, had to work with that, had to work in those circumstances in order to become his PhD and his doctor and his medical profession, and ultimately to become, a Republican candidate. And you know what? Honestly, whether the guy's being an idiot or not, I don't know. Maybe not. Good for him that he became successful and worked his way out of that. I think that's great. However, the comment itself did raise some memories for me personally. Um, when I was younger, I was raised either among white communities or mixed communities with other Native Americans and some Asians. And what would often happen was I would sometimes be separated out because of what I looked like. Obviously, I was darker, so obviously I had to be the bad guy. I couldn't ever be the good guy, get the girl or anything like that because of my, the color of my skin. And yeah, that was hard. But then I moved into the city, and that was my first. That was the first time really living among only black people. And rather than feeling, some sense of solidarity or something along those lines, it was the exact opposite of that. I found I was treated pretty much the same way, but not because of how I looked, but because of how I acted, how I spoke, what my mannerisms were. And more often than that I can count, I was told that I was too white. I wasn't black enough, and that was hard. I would even say that was harder because that left me feeling isolated. It's like they don't like me. These people don't like me. What the fuck am I supposed to do now? So, and it's interesting to me how human beings, maybe even on a biological level, feel this need to identify with the community, to be a part of a larger group, and to align ourselves with that group. And how apparently that once you align yourself with that group, you can't say anything against it. It has to be the same shared experience. It has to be, toe the party line and things like that. And yeah, there's some generalizations in that comment and everything, but I feel largely that tends to be true. And I've had friends who were lesbians and bisexuals kind of communicate similar stories to me. Friends who were lesbians have often said to me how sometimes they would get heat from other peers of their peers because they had a friend, they were hanging out with a friend who was a straight heterosexual male, and and they were one on one, and maybe they were on a date or something like that. They would sometimes get heat for that. One bisexual friend had said to me, who was a woman, had dated men before, and sometimes she would get some flack from people who was because she said, quote unquote, she had a dick in her, and that was taboo. That's not supposed to happen. And, so according to these people, according to her. So I find that kind of interesting that we feel this need to do that, and I honestly feel it's kind of sad that for a couple of reasons. One being that we as Americans pride ourselves on individualism. You don't judge someone by, who they're associated with and everything. You judge it by that one specific person, by their own specific actions, and that's it, right? Innocent till proven guilty, stuff like that. Yet in practice, it many times can be the exact opposite of that, and it doesn't even have to have anything to do with race or sexuality. It can be your friends in school or college. It can be your family. It can be your religious preference or institution. Just any group, no matter how small, maybe it's a couple people or maybe it's 100 million people. there's an unspoken pressure to kind of like to kind of fall in line and agree with people, and if you don't, then you kind of you're the nail sticking out that needs to be hammered in, and that's very sad to me because it's it's kind of hypocritical in a way, to be honest with you. But the other reason why I had such an issue with this was because honestly, we don't all have the same shared experiences. A black person in Africa is not going to have the same experience as a black person in the middle of suburbia in Wisconsin. Okay, an Asian person who lives in Tokyo, Japan, is not going to have the same experience as an Asian person in the mountain regions of China, okay, or Vietnam or wherever. Vastly different experiences, and about the only thing they have going for them that's remotely alike is potentially how they look. Even then, there can be differences and whatever. And therefore it makes it sad to me that we feel this need to do that. Now, the obvious response to this that I've often heard is, well, that's their fucking problem. Get over it. They can't do anything to you, so let them go do their thing. And I agree with that, and that's totally fine. And if you're comfortable in your own world with that worldview and everything, that's how you see yourself, great, fine, knock yourself out. However, it becomes a problem when you have people who look like you, per se, but have a totally different definition of the group identity, and you don't match up with that, or vice versa. And then not only do they not agree with that, but they then take it a step further and try to affect your life and how you live. So the friends you hang out with, the positions you can run for, who you can marry, things like that. And then it takes that, and that's a whole other ballgame at that point. Okay, now that's affecting your lifestyle, and either you or them saying, my view is not only superior to your view, but it is so superior that you need to follow it. You need to fall in line or experience the consequences. And that's, I hate that. I truly hate that. And so for me, the fact that Ben Carson said this doesn't matter. I don't care that he said that. I don't care if he said that because it was like political leverage, or if he was trying to, gain an advantage and pull a Donald Trump or whatever the case may be. The point being is that specific tactic, the resource for that tactic, was used, period, by whoever, and that tactic can create division, can create misunderstanding between people. I've had European friends who've often said to me that Americans were very strange to them because we feel this need to pull ourselves apart, dissect ourselves, like Italian American, Polish American, Black American, Asian American, something American, whatever. And instead of just saying, I'm American, and that's it. And, Europeans have their own problems, and everything. So I'm definitely not saying that, it's kind of Shangri-La over there. But point being is just that human tendency to pick apart and try and define someone else, define other people by our own standards. And if they don't meet that standards, then they're outcasts. They're not black. They're not white. They're not filled in the blank, whatever the case may be. So in any case, if you have any thoughts on that, any opinions, feel free to email me at jackscontinuum@gmail.com. I'll also post a link at the bottom below to the article where I had on Ben Carson, where I had read that. So you can read it up for yourself and maybe you have a different point of view on it. But either way, my name is Jack, and I hope you guys have a great day, and take care. Thanks for watching.